So it's so nice to have such a big group today. And we have a theme, but we don't always stick to it. Although this theme kind of covers everything. The theme is who and what we really are beyond our personality, who we really are as a spiritual essence. And, I know that um, you've all seen this to varying degrees at different times, right? I mean, I certainly get caught up in my personal ego. I think, even Sid Banks did, not as much as the rest of us and not as often, but it's a human condition. So it's always really nice to point ourselves as a group back to this essence of who we really are that's underneath all of the beliefs and fantasies and, you know, desires. And not that there's anything wrong with desires. It's kind of fun if you're not disappointed when your desires don't come about. Then it's fun to spend time in desire. But the main point is that remembering we have a place to come back to, that home place of pure spirit. And I know that at least someone on this call had a beautiful, amazing, incredible insight over the week. And, you know, and probably more of you I just hadn't heard from. So who wants to go first? And, you know, just jump in anytime. Feel free to just jump in because your window lights up and we'll know to point our eyeballs where that light is.
Yeah,
How's that
I'll
sound?
go.
You're going to go. Go, Julia.
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, so last week, I'm in Utah right now, actually. I'm on a trip, but I was home last week and I've been recently fighting a lot with one of my best friends. And we go back 10 years, you know, back to middle school. Like, we're really close. And it was around Christmas time after I just lost my brother. And I was really being hard and judgmental on her and her life choices. And I didn't realize that at the time what I was doing was, instead of dealing with the own pain, like my own pain that I was going through at the time, I was really just hyper focused on everyone else's lives, like around me, and just being really hard on them and judgmental and taking everything that they were doing like to heart, because like she was making bad relationship choices, just letting people walk all over her. And it was really bothering me. So I just, for months, I hadn't spoken to her since Christmas time. And one day it was starting to like get to me. And I went back and I read through the conversation, and I just saw it completely opposite from her side of the story. Like, it was like I'd seen something just like in a whole different light. And I realized that like I was being a really bad friend. Like, I reached out to her and I apologized, and she was like, you know, I know what you're going through is really hard. Like, I know you're dealing with stuff. And it just completely broke down like every wall I had put up. And I just like had experienced in that moment, just like I went through 2 hours of just sobbing and just like really experiencing like the grief of losing like a family member. Like, my brother, he was only 27 and a couple of years older than me, and we grew up together. So it was really tough. And I was going through every stage of grief, almost just like blaming myself, just being sad, just being like, why did this happen to him? Like, and just confusion. But when I felt it, it didn't feel like harmful or scary or like confusing. It was just like safe. Like, I let it come through and I let it pass. And I just let it sit with me for a few hours. And finally, like, after I just let all the emotion out, I realized that like I diagnosed myself and by my doctors that I have anxiety. And what I realized in the moment was that I don't think I really do have an anxiety problem. I think that I just kind of block out emotion. It's my way of coping. And when it starts to ease back in, that's that feeling that I call anxiety, that I don't like, the discomfort. And it was really mind blowing to me because like this just completely changed my everyday life from that day. This past week, every day I've been getting new insights, and it's just like a whole like door had opened. It almost felt like a miniature like epiphany. Like now I'm living my life differently. I don't really focus on like moments of like being sad or upset or low moods. Like it just, I don't even give it more than a second of thought. Like I don't hold what other people are doing like against them or help them like accountable. It's just life, you know. I just realized that life is experiencing the emotion. It's sitting with the emotion. It's feeling feelings. The whole point of life, I feel like. And before I was more focused on the outside world and what could I get done and accomplish and put my feelings aside to do life. But now I'm just seeing everything differently. And I had to share it with Lori because even though I'm on a trip right now, I had to reach out to her and just like before I lost the train of thought in the moment, I was like, this is what happened to me and I feel amazing. So yeah, thanks for listening to my experience. It's been really great. I think you're muted.
I forgot
Oh,
I
there we
was muted. I was
go.
just saying thanks so much for sharing that with our community, you know. Awesome, Mark says. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's life
amazing, right?
changing.
Go ahead, Julia. Yeah.
I'm just saying it's life changing, and I've actually been speaking to my friend now, you know, daily like we used to do, and she's been getting into some of the similar work. She read a book, I forgot what it's called. She did an audio of it, but in the book it explains that people block their blessings, and she's the type of person to when people reach out to her or offer her things or offer to give her money for things, stuff like that, she just turns it down completely. And in relationships, friendships, everything. So she just completely shuts it down before even giving it a thought. And now she said she's saying yes to everything and she has never been happier. So it's really crazy. It feels like we're both going through these like changes in our lives at the same time. So yeah.
Well, you're probably also piggybacking off of each other because the
Yeah.
insights you're sharing, and you're more
Yeah.
open now to recognize how understanding that was of her.
Mm-hmm.
She really understood that, well, you were going through a lot of grief. She didn't take it personally.
Mm-hmm.
And that opened the door for you to just really not be afraid of your feelings. You know, I
Yeah,
love.
actually her sharing her insight, it was almost like I felt it the same way because it was like I'm seeing it happen in real life, and I've noticed I do that sometimes too. So it's crazy to see like the change and just kind of like living through that, like through her. It's crazy.
Yeah. And, you know, I want to share with the group too that Julia has listened to and read Sid Banks, and now she's also reading Elsie Spittle, The
Mm-hmm.
Wisdom Within, I think, right?
Yeah, I actually have it right here. Almost done with
You,
it.
it went to Utah with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Pallavi says, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
What a beautiful insight. You know, and that's what happens for of us when we get past the small minded thinking that we do, the
Mm-hmm.
ego. like you hurt me or there's something wrong with you. Oh, that was another
Yeah.
part of your insight too. If you could share that, Julia. But maybe let me check in with other people
Okay.
first to see if anybody had something you want to share. I want to make sure everybody gets time. And then maybe everybody just wants to hear the second half of Julia's story. Yeah. The part where your mom, you realized you were like
Oh
trying to
yeah.
fix your mom. I love this.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, now I remember. So, I was really sad one day, in the hotel. Normally I try to stay out and about and explore just to kind of, so I don't feel those lonely feelings of being on the road and traveling alone. And because it does get really lonely. So I usually try to keep busy every day. And, the one morning I was like, you know what, like, I'm just going to sit here. I'm still sad about, thinking about my brother. I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to feel it. And I looked out the window and I was like, this is what's going on out there is not like life. What's happening right here is life. So I just kind of sat there and experienced it. And then I went to call my mom and kind of like reflect with her, maybe like share like some stories about Lucas, make us like feel better. But she was in a really bad mood. Actually, she works like 12 to 18-hour shifts as a 911 operator. So she got like maybe 5 hours of sleep and she was really just grumpy. She did not want to listen to anything I had to say. And she was just quick to get off the phone. And we are having puppies being born soon. And she had a certain idea of what she wanted to do with the sleeping arrangement. She wanted me to sleep with the puppies to kind of watch the mom and make sure nothing happens. And I wanted to sleep with my own dog actually, and it's not good to keep a dog, like a male dog and a female dog, like while she's with the puppies. So she wanted me to like leave my other dog in another room and sleep by myself. And I was like, well, why don't we just try it? Like, we've never tried it. I know you've done research on it, but maybe we should just see what happens. And she got really upset. She's like, I've researched for hours and hours. You can look it up, you can Google it. I'm telling you, this is how it's supposed to be done. And I was like, but I understand that you've researched it and it says that on the internet, but why don't we just see what happens? And she's just like, you know what? I've had this little of sleep. I'm hanging up on you. And I was like in shock. Like when we got off the phone, I was like, wow, like my own mom is not even there for me. Like I'm in a really low mood and she's not feeling that I'm upset and reading my mind, and she doesn't want to sit here and talk to me about what's going on in my life. Like I took it to heart like really fast, and then I let it go. And I was like, I'm overthinking this. Like I could tell in my own mind, like it was going in the wrong direction. I was like, you know what? She told me herself, like she's had very little sleep. Like she's been stressed out. She's got all these own things going on in her life in New York. And I'm over here, I have my own side of the conversation. And it just at that time, we weren't ready to talk about the same thing and talk about Lucas. And she didn't know that's what I even wanted to talk about. So I've been a lot easier on my parents and giving them like their own space and dealing with the same, grieving. Everyone grieves differently. So we've been a lot closer now, and it's just been easy having relationships with people. It's been a lot easier not taking things to heart and, holding it against people. So yeah, that's another insight that I had.
No, they just kept coming like,
Yeah, I told Lori, like it's either nothing, like I'll have no insights for weeks, and then all of a sudden it's like every single day, multiple times a day. So it's been hard to keep track of.
yeah, I love that. How you dropped into this mode of understanding.
Yeah, and it happened fast. I'm really glad that I just it went on like a light bulb. So lucky. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you did say that you let go, you recognize that negative feeling that came from that disappointed thinking. You
Yeah,
recognize the feeling, and so that alerted you. I
yeah,
should let go of this. I could just
yeah.
let go of it.
It was kind of like a warning sign, like this doesn't feel right, and just let it go. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, I love that. The warning sign of the bad feeling that
yeah,
I must be in my ego,
yeah,
must be caught up in my own personal thinking. Yeah.
yeah. Thanks for listening, guys. I know that I'm taking up a lot of the hour, but
No, I'm sure everybody can relate.
yeah, I hope.
Pallavi,
Yeah,
Pallavi, yeah.
Yeah, no, I just love what Julia said about relationships being easier, because that sometimes I know something I noticed too during the last year, like little changes, and now I can see that I just don't take, like when somebody's in a bad mood and snaps at me or whatever, I just don't take it to be them. Like I just see it as like, yeah, okay, they are in a bad mood, like I get that too. And I just don't remember the words they say or like keep it in my mind, because it's not so important. And it's so clear that like 5 minutes later or next day, they'll be in a different mood. And like, even sometimes when my husband and I might get angry or clash together with something, it's just over so quickly. Like we just stop in the middle of it and do something else, and then it's fine. And like I think it's just lovely to let stuff go, to not, it feels so much gentler and even like more natural, so that sometimes you're wondering, okay, why do I do that sometimes, like really getting in there and getting angry and caught up, because it doesn't feel nice. Like we've been talking about that. It's so weird that we have like this tendency to get into stuff that feels really bad. Like in a way, it's so obvious that you're not supposed to do that because it feels really bad. I find it kind of funny. Like, you know what I mean? It's so simple in a way. Like the warning sign is so direct and so clear, and still we go, no, but I want to keep going there. It's funny to me. Like I
Yeah,
still do it, but it's still funny.
I know. It's the human, it's the brain, right? The human brain just gets, loves to dig in to whatever comes across it, I guess. But, knowing how it works just is such a lifesaver.
Yeah, and I like, something comes to my mind that Sid says in one of the talks, because it always felt for me like you say, like the brain is doing it. It's kind of automatic. You can't even stop it when you're in a thought storm. But then I started to realize with topics I had insights on, like I really saw something new about. Suddenly I wouldn't do it anymore. So it couldn't really be an automatic habitual thing. Like I started to see that it only keeps going as long as I'm interested in it. And that's something Sid says in one of the talks, that to feel insecure or to feel scared or something, you constantly have to give energy to the fear. Actually, it doesn't keep going by itself. It keeps going because I still think I get something out of it, or there's something interesting to find there. And I find it helpful just to know this, because I used to feel like there's nothing I can do about it. I'm kind of a victim of my habitual thinking. But now I'm starting to see more and more that it's not true. It's just a question of, yeah, of really having some insight, seeing something new about the things. And to me that's very hopeful. So because even with things where I might be still caught up, I know that something new is possible, like in a second, basically. And that's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, it sure is. That's so great, Pallavi. Yeah. Who else? Yeah. I love how you're seeing so much. Ah, Trying to make this so I can see everybody. I put it on speaker view, and now I can't get it back to where I can see everybody.
There's a little button on the right corner, top corner of your screen.
Oh, there it is. It was hidden by the group. There's the view. Yeah. Now I can see everybody. Yeah. So what else comes to mind about, that it's such a great thing to point out, Pallavi, that we're only ever experiencing our own thinking. That's all we can ever experience, which automatically makes us not a victim of the outside world. We're really not a victim of the outside world. We're only a victim of our own thinking in, small small portions of time, until we realize, oh, wait, I don't have to dig in there. I don't have to stare at this, as somebody once said. Staring at what we consider a problem just feeds it, gives it energy. And then you could have a shift, like, I love that story of Julia's, that what offended her, she still had that thread in her text, and she could go back to it X months later, a couple of months later, and reread it, and it has a whole different meaning. Same words, different meaning, because she's now reading it really the way I see it. She's reading it from a higher level of consciousness. It's like, when people read Second Chance, Sid's first book, they read it a second time, and it's like, when did he edit this? It's a whole different book. It's crazy that happens. That's, to me, the validation that we do rise up, that there is such a thing as rising up in levels of consciousness. And it looks different. I love George Pransky's analogy of going up and down the elevator of life. When we're at the higher levels, we have greater perspective. But when we're down in the basement, there's no perspective. There's no windows even. It's just dark. Yeah. So, that's another thing about not taking what we think seriously. Why would we take what we think seriously in a low mood when chances are at some point we're going to see that same instance differently? Yeah. Karen, go. You're muted.
I have to
There you
scoot,
go.
but thank you all. I have that other meeting. Thank you.
Oh, you got to go. That's what you're saying. Oh, okay. See you. See you next time. I was waiting for her to tell us a story. So how's everybody else been this week? It's snowing again here.
I'll go just because I'm sitting here kind of crabby, and I'm not normally crabby, but it kind of reminded me of Julia's story a little bit because my dog kept me up all night. She's a puppy-ish, and so I'm just crabby today, and I'm just noticing that I'm crabby and I don't like it, and having interactions with my daughter who's a little bit like your age. And and I also was going to say that as far as the three principles, I honestly think the relationship thing is the easiest thing to see change in, because once you're whipping yourself up, it's like, even if you do it, it's you. And I did not know that before. I have a very laid back husband, and he doesn't know what the three principles is. He's not, I try to talk to him about it, but he's so naturally in tune. Like, I remember, we've been married a long time now, but we'd have a fight and I'd be stewing and I would hear him whistling and I'd be like, what in the world, right? I just couldn't imagine. And so it's like he's always been able to do what I've finally learned how to do. Like he just doesn't take things personal. And that's just interesting to me. Like some people naturally just don't. And it just improves every relationship. That's what I've noticed. And when I catch myself getting my feelings hurt, it's really nice to say, get over yourself. I really appreciate knowing I'm making things about me completely. So that's been big this last week, noticing when I do it. It's such a relief when you can say that's just not personal. So stop thinking about yourself. Yeah.
Oh,
So even
that's
in a
so
crappy
true.
mood, I can see that.
Yeah.
I
I'm
know
so glad you said that it really is
Chris,
so
there's
powerful for relationships to know that. Yeah. It sure seems, if you're in a bad space with your partner, it sure seems like it's coming from them, right? That's the illusion that thought and consciousness create that illusion that it's got to be their fault. We feel this way, right? Because you blame it on them when you feel good too. Well, I feel so good because of him or her. Yeah. Mark, when you described your wife, this reminds me of how things are with your wife, that she's more naturally gifted with this. I wouldn't call it an understanding because, she's just natural, naturally forgiving. And do you want to say anything about that you've observed?
Did you say me, Mark?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes. You, Mark. Yes.
next, in what way? I don't understand what you actually mean. In what way?
Well, I remember you telling me, was it on the webinar that I did with Chris, about how your wife isn't learning about the three principles, but she already like behaves as though she does. Something like that, right?
Yeah. So what basically happened is that when I started on my journey of trying to find self, trying to find my spiritual self, three principles and all that, I wanted my wife to be on my journey, and it started to create a rift, push us apart, and I couldn't understand why. And becoming more aware of that, and I'd hear people say to me, just do you, Mark, just do your journey. And because I started doing my own personal journey, then she kind of just came along, started to change. And she doesn't understand any of this. Well, she might do, I don't know. But I don't, it seems to me as the less I push and want things to be my way, and come on the journey, this will help you, what I'm learning is really great for you and all this stuff. I feel that whereas I just do myself, then I'm expanding, my energy is being felt all around me. And yeah, that's what I've seen. So we she still gets caught up, I still get caught up. I look at that being as our humanness. But then what I do find is that I'm learning to live in my being more, as opposed to my human more, if that makes sense. So yeah, so that's where we're at, and she's doing the same, but she's doing it unknowingly, and that's the beauty of it. She doesn't know what she's doing, but because I'm not putting no meaning to it, then she's growing in a good way, and that's yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's beautiful. You know what it comes down to is a feeling. That's it. A feeling. You just look for a nice feeling and live in that space as much as you can. And it's hard to miss then, you know? And then she catches wind of that feeling, and that'll bring out the best in her. It's such a no brainer when we look at it that way, through that lens. Yeah. I love what you said about your beingness as opposed to your humanness, right? Relate to people from your beingness, from what we were talking about as the theme for this week, that that's who we really are at our core. Our essence is pure consciousness. It's all the personal thinking that gets in the way. You know, how we expect somebody to treat us, or how we expect somebody to behave, or, you know, insecurity. All of that is all self created through the ability to think. And sometimes we come up with some real whoppers.
I think the beauty of it is just what I'm learning is that I'm learning to be more aware that I'm on my own individual journey, and I can't place anybody on my journey. But while I'm wherever I'm going, as long as I see where I'm going, then whoever's around me, if they want, they can follow too, because they create their changes. And that's the thing, what I used to be very confused about. Like, oh yeah, this is really good. You'll get this. This will save a life. This will this, that, and the other. And then now it's like, okay, you know what? I'm not put on earth to save anybody in a sense. I'm just here to do me, and then souls will naturally be saved. If I'm doing myself, then souls will be saved. If I'm trying to go out there and say, right, I'm going out there to save you, to let you understand this stuff and get it totally, it's not going to work. That's where the voices start coming in my own mind. So yeah, it's just about me just remembering to do my journey individually, and then whoever comes along, they create their own journey to go on to.
There's a saying for that I love. It's called "stay in your own lane." Did they say that in the UK, or is that just an American saying? Or
Like that, they don't really use that terminology actually.
stay in your own lane. It's so funny.
Uh,
Julia, it sounds like another insight you had with your mom.
Yeah, I was
Right.
relating a lot to that because I like to help people a lot. It's definitely just been something I've loved, just I've always been in the service industry, like waitressing and, serving people. So it's really common for me to get the habit of like trying to fix people's problems. And it's like, I notice that whenever I do, the people that I'm trying to help that are close to me, like friends, family and stuff like that, they get very offended and they feel judged by me. And that's not at all what I'm trying to accomplish or come across as. And it's actually harmful for my relationships with people. So now that I've had the insight and I've kind of stepped back, and I'm trying to understand a way that I can just, be there for people instead of like overstepping and trying to take control, like get in the driver's seat of their life and their problems and be like, oh, I can fix it for you. I know exactly how. And, like, however, whatever they're dealing with, it's just, I notice it's the wrong way to go about it. And it creates this like hostility in the air when I, try and do things like that. So now I just want to, show that I'm there. Like, I'm always, a call away or physically there, listening, or I'll do whatever, they ask, but I don't try to offer like unsolicited advice, I guess.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah, because how Mark said, like, people are on their own journey and we're on our own journey. It's not anyone's journey to go and, take control of other people's lives like that. It's not helpful for us or for them. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's so beautiful, isn't it? The best intentions, we could have the best intentions. Here, take this medicine, do this, do that. But really, what the person could be hearing is, what, you don't think I'm okay as I am?
Yeah.
I need to be fixed. Yeah, what a beautiful thing that, to realize that. It doesn't make you hardened. Like a lot of people who are just naturally givers, I hear from clients like this that they get feeling resentful. Well, I'm giving all the time, and why don't people give back to me? Well, for all we know, they're not seeing it as you giving to them. They're seeing it as you trying to fix them, that you're judging them. So interesting, isn't it? How just because we think something, we have great intentions, doesn't mean that's how it's going to land on the other person. They're going to see it from their perspective. Yeah, Mark.
Just to say quickly to that, as you just said it, it just came to me that so my wife's brother died as well, not so long ago, well, a couple of years ago, about 2-3 years ago, and he died of cancer, but it was a long, ongoing process and battle. And I try and comfort her and all of this stuff, 3Ps and, just self-development in general. And I remember one time she turned around and said to me, "I never asked you to fix me." So, and I say that for a reason, because it's just that awareness of who asked to be fixed. Because anytime we talk to somebody, they never say, "Fix me." They don't say this. But because what we're feeling as we're going through the process, we automatically think, "Oh, it's fixing me, so it will fix you." So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you so much. Yeah. Because all of us, and including people who never even heard of the three principles, they're going to have moments of difficulty. Doesn't mean that they have a difficult life. It doesn't mean that they need to be fixed. Doesn't mean that they're broken. It's a difficult moment in time. And so if you're just there for them, like both Mark and Julia were talking about, just being there for your person when they're going through difficulty with compassionate understanding, because you've been there too. Who doesn't know that feeling? Who hasn't been up against their own thinking at different times? Yeah. What about Richard and Alan? What do you, the elders of the group? I say that,
Well,
because
Pallavi,
they've
your
known
hand has
Sid
been
the
going up.
longest.
I want
You've known
Pallavi.
Sid the longest, yeah.
I want Pallavi to say what's on her mind.
But you wanted to say something too. You want to go first?
I did, but you're more important than me, so please.
Oh my God.
No, I'm serious. Please.
Now I feel like I have to say something really good,
Yeah.
No, what came to my mind is that for me it changed too with other people. And what changed is that I used to think when people are suffering, they need some more information, I needed to tell them about a technique or something I know intellectually. And now that I kind of got glimpses about just being in a nice feeling, it just makes more sense to me when somebody is suffering to kind of just love them and to maybe say something nice, like, I think you're doing great, or, you know, like something where I feel they might just be in a good feeling. And I really like that. It feels so much gentler and nicer, even though I always thought I am being nice or supportive, but it was always like trying to get them to see it this way and like fixing them. So yeah, I really like this. I like that it stops on by itself. Like I just noticed that it seems to suddenly make more sense to me to react in a different way, and I really enjoy this.
Yeah.
So now, Ellen, you have to say something. It's your turn.
That was great. That was great. Okay, Ellen, you got to top that now.
Thank you. Yeah, I just love these groups because, I'm writing another grant, right? And I had a deadline and I came into this meeting all urgent, and anxious. I had a phone call in 10 minutes and wasn't prepared, and, OMG, there I am. But the way I understand that experience now is that if I'm seeing what's happening to me in some version of love, either compassion or forgiveness or any version of love, that's the target, that's what I am drawn back to. And it's okay to be anxious and worried and scared, because it makes me walk quickly to the phone, to get to the phone. It makes me look through my computer documents more quickly. And that's all right. There's a little wisdom in there, right? Alan, you got to get ready here in 10 minutes. But as soon as that's over, I want to come back to that other quiet space. As soon as that's over. So the tiger chased me around for 10 minutes. Tiger's gone. And I want to feel some version of love so that I can see more clearly, so I can hear more clearly. And you were talking about feelings, and when I used to hear people say that, look for a nice feeling, oh, come on, and for me, what that's come to mean is that feeling can be some version of love. And when you're quiet, that feeling is there. And when you're scared, it's not. And when you're scared, go ahead and be scared, but it hurts to be scared. And it's so much nicer to return to that quiet space again, where the feeling is better. Rambling thoughts.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Coming from love, coming from that space of love, that we can always depend upon, right? Which doesn't mean that you're not trying to fix somebody when you, even though you're feeling loving feelings. So I guess it's twofold. It's coming from a feeling of love and also knowing that the other person has everything they need inside of them. They don't need anything put into them, or like Pallavi was saying, a technique or a strategy, or try this, or this helped me, this will help you. Although it doesn't mean we don't offer things, like if somebody has a cold, oh, I found this great elderberry. Want me to pick you up some? There's nothing wrong with that, but you're not trying to fix, like, people feel like you're trying to fix their essence. And you can't fix essence. It's perfect. So, Richard, Greg, what's up with you two? What have you been seeing lately?
Um, nothing much like since we last met. I yeah, but I've been reading more of the Missing Link in my free time, so that's been nice.
Yeah. Anything stand out for you
Um,
or
I just have a
anybody in the
quick
missing link?
I just have a quick thing. Everyone's kind of
You're muted. You got muted. You pressed something that made you get muted. There you go.
Oh, sorry, that was my bad. I was just saying, I think just happened. Like everyone kind of, I can hear everyone, but everyone's frozen. This happened like a second ago. I don't know if anyone else that's happening to anyone else.
Just you, my friend, I guess.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, might be on your end. Yeah. You've been having some insights lately. Maybe they're not coming to you. I mean, I loved how you responded when you got the parking ticket. I think that was what you shared last time, right? That you got
Oh,
this parking ticket.
that was funny. Yeah, New Haven. That was fun. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the things that would get you in the past, that's really what you had found, that the things that would get to you in the past are just not getting to you like they
Yeah,
used.
like less, not dwelling on things as much, and or if I dwell on them, like seeing the positive in it, not just the negative.
Oh, could you say something about that? That's really cool. Yeah.
Um. Okay, so I actually recently for school I had a group project, and basically it was I was in a group. It was like two other people, and I was working on it, and basically like I kind of was the only one doing stuff, and I didn't want to be like rude. Like I didn't want to say like, can other people pick up, the pace? Like I didn't want to be rude about it. So basically, I kind of the due date got closer, and then I was like, oh geez, I'm like the only one working on it. And then in the group chat for our project, people were like, oh, we're doing such a good job. And then I'm like, but I'm the only one doing anything. And then so it got time to submit it. And then I kind of was at first I was upset that like kind of I was the only one that did anything, but then I was like I kind of was the only one that learned, stuff from doing this. So like I kind of saw there's both like a positive and a negative in that.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, very cool. So nobody recognized that you were the only one working on this project?
I mean, there was like a peer review thing, but I didn't want to like, do that. Like, so I just like, I didn't know what was going on, like they had going on. So I just didn't like say anything about it. Um,
Yeah, I love that perspective.
kind
You were
of
the one
like,
that learned.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm. Maybe one of them will realize, you know,
yeah,
like what happened with
yeah.
Julia. She read an old text message and she realized, wow, I took that all wrong.
Well, I find when you're in the zone is a phrase that describes when you're centered in your beingness. That's a great word too. Things just flow the way they should. And Mark, I appreciated what you said. Marika and myself, we had the very good fortune of waking up together, and even though we've had up and downs through our 45 plus years of marriage, we're still seeing very much eye to eye, what life is. And if we allow ourselves the good fortune to, see it with understanding, and sure, it can be different, but just to see it with understanding puts it into a comfortable perspective that while we're all wired the same, we do see differently. And it's just, we tend to see differently if we're emphasizing a thought that we may have or whatnot. I love it when you're in a state of no thought, that whatever's going on in your life is more flow related, and it just seems to be so, I wouldn't use the word right, but there's no judging as to what's right and wrong. It just is. And I love that state of mind when your life unfolds like that. And it's got nothing to do with time, Lori. You keep referring to us old timers, Alan and myself. And we can be the first people off the mark. It's really interesting that Sid would often talk. It's not about quantity; it's about quality. And if you look at the quality of feelings that you're having, and I think Bill Pettit talks about, what is it? Love letters.
Yeah.
From mind, that, for those times that you think you're not seeing straight, and the feelings that go with that thought process. Because I look at that when I get those thoughts and when I feel out of sorts, well, that's telling me something. And, if we're perceptive enough to let it sit and learn the lesson from it, lessons are always there to be observed and, wisdom extracted from. Elsie was a great one to talk about the school of life. And I see like life is such an incredible classroom, and the lessons that get served specific to who we are.
Yeah, so true. Yeah. Wow. So we're almost at the end of the hour. Who's got anything else? And if any of you have been here with us for 6 weeks, if you could send me the post test, that would be great. Greg, you did. Thank you so much. So that I can send them on to.
What do you do for the people that have been here for 45 years?
Yeah, right.
Alan?
Yeah.
It's just, when you, again, it's not time. It's just like, Julie, you said you came into experiences that just changed your appreciation of what the experience was. And see it in a different light, with the ability to go through it, with a different understanding of what you're experiencing.
Yeah.
In fact, along those lines, it's right in the missing link, right? About jumping the boundaries of time, that it doesn't take years to find wisdom, right at the beginning, right? One of the greatest misconceptions ever is the belief that it takes years to find wisdom. Many experience time, few experience wisdom. The achievement of mental stability and peace of mind is one thought away from everyone on earth, if you can find that one thought. And to me, that's like Sid would say, look for a nice feeling, look for a pleasant feeling. That would be, and just don't expect it to come right away. Who knows when it's going to come? Could come right away. You can't make that happen. There's no technique in the world that can make us have the right thought at the right time. Alan.
I was thinking about this. I think one of the main benefits of this understanding has been to bring perspective into my life. Just simple perspective. When I'm suffering, I have perspective about that. When I'm happy, I understand where that happiness is coming from. So I think if I were to summarize one of the main benefits of this understanding, and well, meeting said, is that I have a perspective, a deeper perspective, and that has been helpful for the decades that I've been involved in. Richard, you might or might not agree with that perspective. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me. How about you, Richard?
Yeah,
Makes sense?
no, absolutely. I mean, like, when perspective is true to source, Alan, it's, you don't question it. The confidence, the peace of mind, all the positive aspects of life are there, as intended. It's just that when we think it over and we we think we're not seeing straight, but also just acknowledging, there are times when you are not seeing straight, and to step back and allow the essence to straighten you out, to guide you back home. I love the words going home. Sid talked about that. It's like when he would talk about the feelings as well, and going home was going back to the center of our soul. And what that does for you in terms of your feelings. If I get feeling out of sort, those are two words I'll think to myself: going home. And just reminds me that there is a place in myself that is at peace with itself because it understands who I am. And really, there's nothing to figure out. And that's another thing that Sid often talked about. There's nothing to figure out. It's all done. It's a done deal.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's like having an inner GPS system, right? Like you just have to pay attention to the warning signs and okay, I'm out of sorts now. I better not open my mouth right now because it's not going to be good. And sometimes you have to bite your tongue. Yeah. Well, this has been so wonderful again, like it is every week. Great having you all. So have a wonderful week ahead, and I'll see you next week. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lois.
Bye. Thank
You're
you.
very welcome. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Nice to
everyone.
see you all.
Appreciate it.
Good.